Well, hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Breakdown, where we...
I'm checking Facebook while all of a sudden he does intros.
I said, are you ready?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I thought I had a countdown or something.
See, sometimes if you've never watched us on Facebook, or not on
You're
Facebook, on
missing these little
YouTube,
things.
you really need to watch us just one time to see what the heck goes on behind the screen. Anyways, welcome to The Breakdown. I'm so excited that you've chosen to join us. Whether you are watching on YouTube or you're listening wherever you consume your favorite podcast, a.k.a. ours.
Where do you, if you're going to go to podcasting, where
Apple.
do you go Apple?
Yeah,
Apple Podcast?
It's easy because it stays across
I think
the
I
board.
do Apple too.
But
Are they on Spotify? We're on Spotify.
we're on everything.
We're on everything.
We're on Deezer, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music.
But does anybody go to anything other than Spotify or Apple?
Yeah, I could look on the analytics and show you.
Wow.
No, very few.
Welcome.
Very few.
But we got some hardcore podcasting.
That's exactly right.
Love it. I
So-
keep interrupting you. I'm sorry. Continue with your wonderful intro.
No, I think that was it.
That was it?
That was it.
Darn.
I know. We're sitting down once again with Pastor Nick. If you're brand new, hey, thanks for joining us wherever you're listening and or watching from. Each and every week, we sit down as pastors on staff at Calvary Chapel, Lake of the Ozarks, in beautiful Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri. And we talk about really anything and everything. Right now, they're pertaining kind of following the sermon from Sunday, but
When we don't rabbit hole it.
that's exactly right. And we can make a hard shift. One day it could just be
Oh,
like,
man.
Nick, where do you stand on fill in the blank?
I was gonna say, shoot, give me
I
a
know.
topic.
No, because you'll dive right in.
I'll dive right
So
in.
it'll be
Like, I'll
like-
tell you right now.
So if you if you're new, yeah, I
Welcome.
don't know where I was going with that.
If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for continuing to listen.
Yeah, seriously,
We're
like
a
a
hot
lot
mess
of people
of-
are loving it. Seriously, we hear week in and week out.
Are you surprised? Sorry, I just had to.
You had to see the look on his face for that. Go to the YouTube and just follow along. But no, we hear week in and week out. Just people are really appreciating what we're doing.
It's been fun.
Even just the conversational aspect. I know my wife has said that a couple times now. I just feel like I'm just hanging out talking.
I bring the looks, you bring the smarts.
What's that say about me?
Anyways, we're gonna dive.
Would you rather be? Yeah. Would you rather? What are those? Would you rather? Would you rather be like the smartest person in the room or the best looking person in the room?
Yes.
I'm neither in
I
any room I walk into.
False. In this room right now, you are the smartest person in the room. Unless the topic of technology comes up, I might edge you out just slightly,
Maybe.
but probably not.
Probably not.
Probably
no,
not.
you would totally.
Well, hey, we're going to talk about this past Sunday's sermon. If you haven't had a chance to watch or listen to it, that's absolutely okay. It's not required. It
Yeah.
definitely helps shape the conversation.
just another ear tickler.
That's it. Oh, gosh.
on
Not even.
s-
No, not even close. Although a lot of what you did, I don't want to say that you regurgitated because that's not true. That makes it sound like you didn't prep a sermon, but there was a lot of things because we've done the conversation 3 weeks ago now because we talked a lot about Spirit of the Antichrist.
Yeah.
3 weeks ago, and so you kind of dove into that
A little bit
a
more.
little bit more
Because that's just
in
where
the sermon.
John's writing, and he's bringing those kind of topics
Yeah.
up. You know, he's kind of cyclical. You know, I'm doing a hand motion if you're not watching on YouTube.
If you can't see, that's I believe that's a very smart, sophisticated word for circular, circle.
Cyclical. And so he'll say a lot of those kind of similar things, and he's kind of like throwing out a point and defending that point and showing like, and that's where we get to it. So he's saying the same few things, but in different ways,
Yeah.
because he wants us to understand the fullness of this.
Yeah.
You know,
He's not regurgitating the same thing, but he's bringing up things that have already been discussed, talked about, brought forth.
Yep. Yep.
Cool. Well, the sermon we're going to talk about, if you haven't listened to it and you want to, you can check it out on our website, ccloto.org/messages. It's entitled He Who Is In You, where we dove into 1 John chapter 4, the first 6 verses. So, sandwiched in between what seems like, not what seems, what is the explanation of loving one another,
Yep.
and then moving on to God is love is this seemingly out of place grouping of verses on testing the spirits.
Yeah.
And so you talk about, one of the comparisons you made on Sunday was to talk about the different inspections and or checkups that we consider everyday, run-of-the-mill, mundane, normal in our world today. But you compared that and you made this kind of shift. we get inspections on our vehicles, on our houses, on our bodies, but why do we not test or examine everything that pertains to the most important thing?
Mm-hmm.
So, we get that little slip in the mail and it's got hey, you need to get your car inspected or you can't drive it again.
Just did that, actually.
Did you really?
Yeah, really.
That's a fun process.
And honestly, I wonder if that's why we don't with our faith.
It's not like there's no reminder requirement.
There's no reminder, there's no requirement, and it's a hassle, just like all the other ones are. They just have reminders and requirements.
I don't want to pay the ticket if I get pulled over. Or I don't want my roof caving in on me.
Because I think about that. Like, if you did not have to inspect your car to have it licensed, would you? How many people would, and how many people would just let it go?
I don't care if my car's safe.
I'm only carrying my family.
No, my car. Like, I don't care if the truck blows up while I'm driving it. My wife's car, on the other hand, I would take. Yeah, like that one would be because I have no mechanical. I don't have any medical experience. Here, put a Band-Aid on it. I have no mechanical experience. I approach mechanical things the same way I do medical things. Just go talk to somebody smarter than me.
Because I just wonder within our faith, then, do we see that as a hassle? I don't want that. I just want that dude up there who's went to the school, just like a mechanic. I just want the guy that's been trained to tell me yes or no and how much is it going to cost me.
And it seems,
and we do the same thing with the mechanic. How little can we do and it passed inspection, or how little can we do and it's safe to drive? Like, when we went over there to get our cars inspected, which was right across the street from the church, which is so nice that it's so close. Like, there was somebody in there and they're like, the mechanic comes out and he's like, all right, you got 3 issues going on, 1, 2, or 3. And the person literally said, what needs to be fixed so that I can drive it?
Yep.
Like, and didn't even say safe or not, like
bare minimum.
Bare minimum. What do we need to do? And do we do the same thing with our faith then?
100%.
Hey, talking monkey up there, Pastor, tell me what's the least amount that I have to do to input with the highest return, get me back out on the road. I wonder if there's a sense that it's the same kind of way. I hate taking like the car license. I remember when we bought houses, having to do the house inspections, and then you get this like massive detailed of everything that's wrong, and it's like, look how nitpicky they're being, and why does that even matter? Well, the moment that you start, repairing your house because that one small little thing you didn't get it taken care of turns into a huge thing. Same thing with like, oh, your blood pressure's a little bit high. Oh, I don't care. I'm gonna just keep doing what I'm doing. It's like, now you're having a stroke. Well, those are the warning signs, and they're going to start small, but they're going to obviously just keep going bigger if they're not addressed.
Yeah. And you can see this in our faith, because how many times do we just kind of coast until crisis and opportunity hit?
Yeah.
Which they always go hand in hand, and they're never fun.
And usually it's because it's not a matter of wants. It's a matter of will.
Yeah.
You hear those people that maybe, let's go with the lifestyle of just like physical health, and they are just massively not healthy physically.
Yeah.
And it's not until, like, we had a friend who didn't live the best lifestyle health-wise, kind of eat, drink, whatever that he wanted. And it wasn't until he was in the ICU and the doctor comes over to his mom, shakes her hand and says, your son's only alive because you fought for him. Like, he almost died of like diabetes, metabolic ketoacidosis.
Let's go.
Right
there you go.
There it is. That's been a hot minute since
I know what that is. Thank you, Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah. Thank you, Hilliard Technical Center, for giving me a nursing degree, and that's how I learned what it was. I could have just watched Grey's Anatomy. But no, I mean, but then after that, that's what provided the motivation to get healthy, to eat right, lose weight. And so he started, after the whole hospital visit, being on a lot of meds for diabetes, stuff like that. And because of change of lifestyle, diet, exercise, and just life, on no meds anymore, doing great. And it's like, sometimes we need that rock bottom moment to really change us, because we could say all day long, I really don't like this, but it's like, I don't have that motivation yet to make the change, to put in the work to whatever it is, because I haven't hit that moment yet.
I don't have the motivation to go to the gym. I am fully embracing my father figure.
Your father figure.
I'm okay with it. While Mr. over here just finished 75 hard today. You were done. Well, I guess
yesterday was my last day. So this morning I woke up.
So you're free.
I'm free, and I haven't had anything. Like, I wanted a fried, hot, out of the grease glazed donut. That's all I wanted, right? And Ashley was going to surprise me at work with one. both donut places that we know of are closed today.
That was the Lord's divine intervention.
Probably.
Because you probably would have keeled over dead after 75.
I haven't had added sugar in 75 days.
I had added sugar 7.5 seconds ago. I live on added
Welcome
sugar.
to the breakdown.
Oh, my God.
How much sugar have you had today? No.
It's a requirement.
Okay. You were still reading. Where were we at? So we're talking about inspecting our houses, our cars.
Our houses, our cars, our bodies.
And why don't we inspect the thing that matters the most?
Yeah.
Because when you think about, like, I think one of the things I said that you were reading earlier, just as we were just briefly talking about, hey, where we're going, God has given us everything that pertains to life and godliness.
That's literally my next point.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. See, I was paying attention.
Quote, unquote. So far, you're word for word. Keep going.
So if God has given us everything that pertains to life and godliness, then we have a very real enemy,
we're done.
Satan. No, we're
You're
done.
close. You're there. Period.
Air. Satan will counterfeit everything that pertains to life and godliness.
Yeah.
And you know how much hate mail I have already gotten from this sermon? Because I compared Coke and Pepsi.
Yeah, my wife and I were one of them.
I mean, from in the sanctuary, people like booed me.
Yeah. Don't say stupid stuff from the stage.
Like Pepsi is nasty.
No, Pepsi's delicious. Stick to the Bible. Nowhere in Scripture is there a Greek word for Pepsi. That's sugar carbonation. That was not Jesus' first miracle was to turn Pepsi into Coke. I'm sorry. It was water into wine.
Not a big fan of the Pepsi. Not a big fan of the Pepsi. And so when I use that comparison, like the hatred that happened.
It's really funny how fickle we are as
oh my goodness.
the human race.
Yeah.
Like, we'll let doctrinal things go. We'll let stupid things go, but don't talk about my
Pepsi?
favet drink.
Don't you talk about the Pepsi. It will slap you. But we have to be ready for that. And that's the thing of like knowing. Right?
Okay.
Hey, remember when we used to have grammar and
boy, have
English
we
class?
fallen.
I know that diet and exercise is going to produce in me, if I have a consistency in it, a better, healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yep.
But I don't want to do it.
I was waiting for the butt because I'm like,
That's what 75 Hard about. Wasn't really the diet, the exercising. It was literally a mental discipline to do the things that you don't want to do. I don't want to do this. And I would tell myself that. I don't want to go downstairs and do another 45-minute workout.
it's not convenient. It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
And then like 75 Hard Nick said, I don't care, go downstairs and do it. Where Fat Nick, Lazy Nick would say, I don't want to do this anymore. 95% of people don't succeed in 75 Hard. And so I had these like two inner monologues fighting, and it's like, I don't want to do this. And I really had to look at myself and say, I don't care. And I think it's Jocko Willink. He talks about it's short-term thinking versus long-term thinking. Short-term thinking is like, yes, I want the donut, eat it now, have the immediate satisfaction, immediate, what do they call it? Instant gratification. There it is. Long-term thinking is I'm not going to eat the donut. I'm going to consistently work out because I know in the long term that's going to produce what I'm wanting. But you have to be able to say no to all the short-term little things. And I believe when you look at our faith, we operate now today with eternity in mind. Mm-hmm. And the things that I'm doing now, the normal everyday little things, how I address my wife in the morning, how I engage my kids, how I talk to staff, all those little things are producing in me for something that's far greater. Could be tomorrow, could be, but it's more of a long-term, because I'm working with eternity in mind instead of what does today really matter? Like, it's Valentine's Day. What's it really matter what I do? Is like God going to be really that upset? It's like, and we think that way. Like, is it really going to matter if I don't brush my teeth today? Probably not.
I don't want you near me if you don't.
Yeah, true. But nor does it mean anything if you brush your teeth today, right? Like, what's it matter if you brush your teeth today? The consistency of brushing your teeth for 2 minutes twice a day. It's the consistency. Because this is, you judge me if you want. I don't care. I was a kid.
Here we go.
We only brushed our teeth the morning we went to the dentist. Like, I remember.
That's not going to fix the 5 years of
exactly. And that's, hey, real quick, brush your teeth. We're going to the dentist. I'm like, what's a toothbrush? Like, so we had like one, and we all had to share it. No,
stop.
But that's, but honestly, like, don't we do that with our faith a little bit? Like,
cramming for the test.
Yeah, we're cramming for the test because, if you cram for the test, you don't remember anything after you take the test. You're cramming just for the grade on the test. Yeah. But you're not trying to learn to grow in your knowledge and understanding. You're just trying to pass a grade, a class, a test. And honestly, how many times do we cram our faith into, oh, here, I got an hour and a half for you, Pastor, like, pour it in, and then I'm going to go out and live however, or, the prayer of repentance that we have on the way to church, like, got to get right with the Lord, about to see him, I don't
want to die when I walk in the building.
Yeah.
Struck dead.
It's getting really warm in here. Is it just me, or is everybody else sinning? No.
No, it's just you.
It's just me.
It's just you.
And so we have to be able to inspect and look, and that's, I think the part that hit me the most was, John wrote First John.
Good guess. While you would be right with most of the New Testament, this is not one of those books.
One little slip up and they never let you live you down. John says, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits. And we also need to test ourselves. We really need
like the little one we forget about.
Oh, yeah.
We want to test everyone and everything else, but don't question me.
Yeah. Is the pastor preaching perfect doctrine? Probably not. Nobody has perfect doctrine. But we don't want
doctrine is.
Yeah, but we don't want to look at ourselves and say, "Am I truly living out, being the hands and the feet of Jesus? Is my faith really as important as what I say it is, or am I just a part of the masquerade and I just put on the mask? I act like everything's fine. Am I this whitewashed tomb? Am I clean?" This cup that's clean on the outside, but on the inside is just full of yuck and filth and whatever. It's like sometimes we have to test ourselves because, again, this is the most important thing. Like, if we're ever going to get something right, let's get this right. So like you said, I might not always have the safest car. My house might have a crack in its foundation, but I know for sure my salvation is secure in Christ. And I know for sure what he wants to see in my life, and that's what I want to get right. Because there's nothing worse than being perfectly good at what doesn't matter.
But I like being perfectly good at what doesn't matter.
But you know what I mean, though? Like, we're going to take the things that don't matter at all, and I want to be really good at those because they're the short-term thinkings. That's not the long-term thinking with eternity in our mind and our hearts. We're thinking about the here and the now.
There's something
So you're Googling something over there.
No.
I'm scared.
No, there's something from your sermon. I was trying to find it because as I was writing, there was something you said that stood out to me, and I wanted to quote it verbatim. And this is what happens when you don't write it down. Oh, man, it's going to drive me crazy.
Do you have my notes?
That's what I'm looking at.
Oh, you're looking at my notes?
Because I know, that's where I pulled the quote from. It's going to drive me crazy.
What part?
You were talking about... Here it is.
Here we go.
So
the suspense is killing us here. We're waiting.
So this was super helpful for me because you pulled some of what Shannon Odell, who spoke at our marriage night on Friday,
Great job, Shannon Odell.
Great job.
If you like podcast, Romance Uncensored, Shannon Odell,
shameless plug.
Go. Okay,
so good.
There you go. All right, go on.
So one of the things that he said, which I think stuck out to you and a lot of us on staff, was what we cover, God will uncover. What we uncover, God will cover. Which I love that because you went on to explain kind of behind it, and so did so did he that night. But you said, which I had never thought about this, if we want to be sincere, if we want to be genuine, and do you remember when you said this? What you compared it with?
The pottery.
The pottery.
If you want to be without wax, that's what that word sincere came from.
Which, if you don't know anything about pottery, and
Here we go. Are we geeking out on some pottery right now? Pottery class. And I mentioned the movie Ghost, and it was hilarious how 4 people understood what I was referencing.
Oh, I immediately, when you started talking about pottery, the first thing I went to my mind was
Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore, making some pottery.
Moment.
Hey, it's Valentine's Day. Take your wife to a pottery making.
Spinning? They call it pottery spinning? Pottery. Isn't that what you put the pottery on the disc, and then you make it?
I have no idea.
Oh, you should. You actually didn't do your due diligence your research.
Oh, we're not ready for Valentine's Day, are we? So the potter back in the day, pottery is big business in the Bible times.
Huge.
Now, you know what's crazy. Okay.
Probably not.
Small rabbit trail. Ceramics, pottery, whatever, is one of the leading ways that we date biblical archaeology.
That I actually didn't know.
Isn't that crazy? So it's like, because we know, just like fashion, oh yeah, that, bell bottoms were the 70s, 80s were the dark ages of nasty.
Jinko jeans?
No, Jinko jeans were the 90s.
They were the 90s.
80s were like
big hair. And
I didn't like anything about the 80s. I was born in 85. I am not an 80s kid. Big hair, horrible music, makeup bands. Just skip over the 80s.
Are you just jealous because you don't have hair?
That I would rather have no hair than 80s hair. Like, I'll just call it like that. And so ceramics were the same way. They had different styles, and so that's how they would date things. And it's really cool. So when they dig down and they can tell how old a site is and how long that...
Based on the pottery.
Based on the pottery or whatever. So anyway, pottery, big business in this day. A good potter, an honest potter, he would make pottery, and you have to put it in the kiln. You got to fire it up, whatever. And a lot of times it'll crack. And that's not like he did something wrong. I mean, sometimes, but... It just
a natural process.
It just It just happens, right? And a good potter would just throw it out.
Yep.
Which is a whole nother sermon about the potter's field that Judas's blood money bought, and nothing grows in a potter's field. My wife, she's like, I never knew that, and so she geeked out on her own researching that a little bit the other night or whatever. And she was like, I never knew that. And I was like, yeah, it's cool. And so he would throw it out, and he would just start over. And so his pottery would cost a little bit more because he's got to try 2-3 times
the
exactly
broken pieces.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's going to have less pieces because he's only going to make so many. And so a dishonest potter, they would take it and it's like, all right, it's got a crack in it. And they would fill it with wax.
And then paint over it.
And it's like, and so that word sincere, let it be, out of Philippians 1, meaning pure, it means without wax. And so if you were buying pottery, you would hold it up against the light of the sun, and the sun would reveal any of those imperfections. It would reveal, oh, there's a wax-filled crack right there. And so these potters used to put the word, in their language, sincere, so people knew, like, oh, this is pottery without wax, like it's been checked.
It's whole.
Yeah. And so the idea is for us to test ourselves, like, we need to put ourselves up against the light of Christ, not of anybody else. I don't compare myself to you or you to me. Like, nope, Christ is our standard. We put ourselves up against the light of Jesus, and it's like, all right, it's not if you find imperfections, when. And when you do, what are you going to do for those? Are you just going to try to fill it with wax, paint over it, and act like everything's fine, and you're too blessed to be depressed, and you're, no.
Hashtag Instagram worthy.
Yeah, yeah. And, or are you just going to be honest and say, I need the grace of God right here in my life, Because there's another pottery art that I think talks about the gospel in a great way. And this is Japanese pottery, right? Here we go, geeking out on pottery with Pastor Nick.
Welcome to Pottery with Pastor Nick.
It's called kintsugi. It's Japanese pottery.
Okay.
And so let's say you have a really nice piece of pottery, but it breaks. Most people would throw it out. Kintsugi.
Is that where they remake it?
They remake it with gold.
Yep.
And they inlay it with gold. So not only is it stronger because gold,
more beautiful.
It's more beautiful and more valuable.
Because that's gold in it.
The value goes up. And so God takes us and our brokenness and our insincerities, our wax cracks, whatever, and he fills it with the gold of his grace. Yeah. So not only bringing back purpose but also increasing our value.
Because so many... Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Because so many times we stop at that has a crack, we're going to chuck it out.
Yeah.
And it's a waste. Like and I hear that so much. Like, I have no value, when we compare ourselves to others, when we hold ourselves up to anything other than Christ, I don't bring anything to the team. I have no value. And we do that instead of continuing on, and instead of pressing on further where the comma is, we put a period.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's the end of the story. It's like, no, there's more.
Yep.
You're not a waste. You actually watch the process. You're about to be more valuable, and here's why.
It's the big butts of the Bible.
There's a song that came to my mind that hasn't.
Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's the big butts of the Bible. And the first time somebody told me that, I honestly responded the exact same way. Like, my middle school inner lost needs Jesus.
For a second, I went back to
Spirit.
7th grade.
Yeah, exactly. Look through Scripture, and you'll hear a line, and it's like, yeah, we're sinners, but God did this. And it's a great study to look at all the but gods in Scripture, and those are the big buts in the Bible or whatever. And so I always love saying that just because it gets responses like that. But like what you're talking about is, I was thinking of 2 Corinthians 12, where Paul writes, quoting Jesus, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." And so if we fill our insincerities, if we fill our cracks with wax and paint over them, we have just removed any opportunity for Jesus to come in and fill the brokenness of our life with his grace. What we're saying is, hey, we're filled up, we're good to go, we look good on the outside. And he's like, the moment you put anything warm or whatever, like it's gonna, that wax is gonna melt.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like, oh, hey, this will work. You know, they literally were just, it's a scam. It was a counterfeit almost in a way. We've been talking about counterfeits on a Sunday. And instead, so we're looking at Jesus and saying, hey, we don't need your grace. We're filled up. We're good to go on our own. When in reality, just give it time and that wax is not going to hold up.
Yeah.
But if we allow, go back to the whole Japanese art form, kintsugi, allow that gold to fill in the cracks, like it's stronger, it's going to hold up. And like, that's where it's like, my grace is sufficient for you and the power is made perfect in your weakness. And so we have to have long-term thinking instead of short-term thinking. We have to change our mindset and say, okay, this is an area of my life that I'm experiencing brokenness. And at the same time, it's an opportunity for you to experience grace.
Yep.
But if you can't examine your own life, if you can't test your own life, like if, a lot of people walk away and, oh, I'm perfectly fine, I don't need anything. Then you're saying no to God and you don't need anything in your, like we have to be able to examine ourselves and say, nope, I need help here.
Yeah.
And it might just be, it's not like, yes, I'm talking about full salvation, but for us as believers, as who John is talking to, he's talking to believers. So we're not talking in the sense of our salvation, but we're talking in the sense of our sanctification to become more like Christ. He needs to work and we need to be open and honest in our lives to allow him to work in our lives for it.
Yeah.
But a lot of times what do we do as Christians? We put on the mask, we act like everything's fine. And when there's those rare occasions that we are open and honest with one another, what do we say? Oh, that's so refreshing, because that's usually not the normal. And I love the line, I don't know who originally said it. I think maybe Ragamuffin. You remember Ragamuffin's real name? You know who I'm talking about, though?
I don't.
You don't even know who I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
I don't know who Ragamuffin.
Man, Google it as I'm talking about him. But I think it was him. He said, I'm going to blank. I'm going to be thinking about what his name is instead of.
I got you.
Okay, he's getting the name. I want to try to get it before you can find it. That's the problem. I can picture his face. Rich Mullins.
There it is.
Got it before Google. There we go. All right. So I think it's a Rich Mullins quote that it's like, you don't go to church because you have it all together. You go to church because you're broken and you don't have it all together.
Yeah.
Like, so let's take our families. Like when we wake up and it's like, hey, we need to go to church, even though like, at least for me and my family, we come separate. Like I come early and then my family follows. You guys come together as a family because
she's on staff.
Exactly. Yeah. But in doing that, what we are communicating and articulating to even our spouses and our families, I don't have it all together and I need Jesus.
Yeah.
Our neighbors see us consistently every Sunday, get up, leave, and there goes the Pierces again. They must be going to church. Yep. Like, obviously here down in the Ozarks, our neighbors don't really see us. I think we have like one. But where were we at up in St. Joe? Like we had a lot of neighbors and they just kind of knew like, Pierces go to church on Sunday. We're communicating to them. We don't have it all together and we need Jesus. Everybody that we're driving into church, and there's all these people getting out of their cars and everybody that we see walking in, like, who are we fooling?
Yeah.
It's like we're walking into the hospital. I mean,
acting like we're
perfectly
nuts.
healthy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, I'm just here to what? No, you're sick and you need it. Jesus said, I didn't, a physician or the sicker who need a physician, not the healthy. But we want to walk around church with our mask on, full of wax, painted up, saying, oh yeah, I'm not sick.
I listened to I think it was a podcast, and they were talking about, it might have been the one podcast that we
Upsetting the Gram.
Yeah, Upsetting the Gram, because I saw it on Instagram, and
those dudes wrecked my life.
But it was how arrogant of you to walk into the hospital with a bunch of sick people, touting how healthy you are. Like no one in their right mind would do that. Yet, how many times do we do that on a Sunday morning? Where we walk in and act like, we've tested the spirit this week. We've got it all together. Our finances are good. Our relationships are good. We've witnessed to every single person on our show. Like, we have got it
Yeah.
in line, knocked out, ready to go. And then, like you said, how refreshing is it when, for whatever reason, or something provides itself where someone gets to, whether it's during the message or after the message, someone share their struggle
Yeah.
or life group or whatever it is, how refreshing it is to go, oh man, that's a good word. Like, I needed to just be reminded that I'm not the only one struggling.
And in the other side of the spectrum too, like, I love that. How arrogant are we to walk into the hospital and act like we're not sick?
Yeah.
Right. And then the other side of it, where I think something that happens a lot in the church is, because we're broken, we isolate ourselves from other people because we think we're the only sick ones.
Yep.
And that happens
Such
so much.
manipulation. Satan's biggest thing to get us alone.
And okay, so
I feel
trying to
very strong.
I'm praying in my heart right now to bring this up or not. Okay. So in this, like, let's talk about some practical ways that we do this. Okay. I want to tread very lightly, seriously, and very lightly on this. Like, there's a lot of pain and hurt that this topic brings up to families, and so I want to tread lightly but speak into it. And this is something that me and my wife have not experienced.
Mm-hmm.
We have 4 wonderful, beautiful kids.
Mm-hmm.
We've only been pregnant 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
We did not have any issues getting pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
We never had a miscarriage or anything like that. So I speak from an ignorance, a personal ignorance, knowing I don't know what that feels like. Okay. Yeah. So hear my heart, please. With that, what's hard at churches, specifically even here at Calvary at times, is we have a lot of young families.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like everybody just had a kid or is getting ready to have a kid. There is something in the water.
You blink.
It's here. Yeah. Like, that is how we are growing the church here at Calvary. Like, in about 2 years, our kidsmen is going to be bursting at the seams more than what it is right now. Okay. What I have seen, even just within that issue, is because we season up in our lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
We're all in the same kind of seasons. And so, this couple just had a kid. This one's going to be pregnant. And then here's this couple that's struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for them to be around everybody else that doesn't share the same struggles.
That is 100% our story.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that is honestly an opportunity to allow the Lord to work, or it's also a foothold, because what we say is, I don't want to be around because it's too hard, and the reminders, and it's like the first thing Satan will want to do is isolate us, right?
Yep.
And trying to think, like, again, trying to tread very lightly in this, because this is very real pain, and I never want to, like, we're always very sensitive at Mother's Day, really sensitive at Father's Day. Like, we want to be sensitive to that, but also bring light into it. Don't try to remove yourself from the body because of that. Yeah. Be real, be honest, but don't forsake the assembling together. There's a reason for that. And I talked about that a little bit on Sunday. Like, that's where we need the body. We don't need to leave the body. Yeah. And sometimes I think we're quick to allow our brokenness and our raw and our imperfections. Yeah, we probably just need to bow out quietly. And it's like, and a lot of times when we hear of people that have removed themselves from the body, let it be a local body of church. I mean, I've been a pastor for 10 years in a couple different churches. Every time we have heard somebody leaving the body, there's some form of brokenness and issue that they felt like, I just couldn't be here.
Yep.
And it's either because we're comparing ourselves to each other, which, again, I don't know what that's like. I don't know what it's like to try to celebrate your new life of pregnancy and still grieve my loss. Yep. I don't know. So, like, please give me grace in that. What I do know is I want to weep with those that weep, and I want to rejoice with those that rejoice. Yep. And sometimes I'm weeping, but I need to rejoice with you, and sometimes I need to rejoice and then weep with, or vice versa, whatever it was. I already got confused. And so, and that's just one instance. Yeah. That's just one instance. It's like, I think of like Forrest Gump with Lieutenant Dan. Like, okay, I don't have any legs and I don't want to be around anybody that walks. That's not good, because you're still a part of the body, and and God has a plan and a purpose for your life. Stay connected to the body. Don't walk in and acting like you're not sick and you don't need a doctor. But on the other end, don't let your brokenness isolate you either.
Yep.
Because that's, again, another thing that we'll think is like, oh, nobody knows what it's like. Nobody knows what I'm going through. And every time that we have brought any kind of brokenness into the light, me and my wife personally, anytime we've been open or public about something, like, let it be, we've had struggles with anxiety.
Yep.
So that is something I can speak into very intelligently instead of the other issue. Every time we've brought that into the light and just kind of just laid it out there raw and bare. We didn't wait until it was healed up, which I think is another issue with the church. Every time we do testimony nights, we always wait for the but God part. And I have a story on that real quick. But, just come real, come honest. And if the wound is still there, the wound's there. It's okay.
You don't have to tie a pretty bow on it or have completion or like it's okay to rest in what is still a process.
Yeah. We had a really good friend in our life group at our old church. Him and his girlfriend were both a part of our life group. And one spontaneous night, they went on a date. He dropped her off 1 a.m. or something like that at home. He goes home, and then we get a call from her sister who lived just down the street from us. And they said they're taking her by ambulance to the hospital, and they were doing CPR on her. And so I had to go, me and Ashley, I had to go call my friend. He came to our house, said, hey, we got to go to the ER right now. And she died. She died throughout the night. There was nothing they could do, and she died. And it was 3 weeks later, we were doing a worship and prayer and testimony night.
Yeah.
And me and my friend, I said, hey, I want to ask you something, to do something very bold and courageous. I want you to give your testimony within this situation. We didn't have the but God yet. We were still right in the middle of it.
Waiting for the but God.
Yeah, we were in the waiting. We were in between the already and the not yet. We didn't know what God was going to do. Now he's happily married to a wonderful girl. It's great, full restoration. But there was a valley of pain right there. And we gave that testimony. And so we did it kind of this style in front of the whole church, interview style, talking through it. And it was very emotional, very hard. She was a part of our church. This was, it wasn't some off story 5 years ago, but now look at what God's done. We think of Job. Oh, at the end of it, and then he has 10 more kids and everything's perfectly fine. No, he still grieved the loss of his first 10. And so we were just right in the middle of the testimony, and we just kind of had to leave it there because that's all we knew yet.
And the awkwardness of that. And this kind of almost where church is always, I'm waiting for it. Where's the
it's
but God
we
moment?
Had to give reason to praise God. And it's no, God alone is the reason that we praise him.
Cue the Casting Crown songs, Praise You in the Storm.
Yeah. And we say all those things. We worship through songs like that until it's us, till we're in the middle of it. And we just want God to finish up, wrap up the story. And it's just trust the author and just keep walking with him in that.
So personal testimony time, because your first topic is our story.
Yeah, you said
completely.
Go ahead.
So my wife and I are expecting our now third child in a month.
Uncle Nick is what you named him, right?
Named her? Uncle Nick is what,
Nick. Yeah, that's the
we
first
named
name.
her.
Every person that is pregnant, I always tell them, you're going to
name Uncle Nick?
Uncle Nick, and they're like...
I'm going to put that on Instagram when it comes out. Introducing now, Uncle Nick.
I will give you $20.
You're going to have to give me way more than that. My wife would crucify me.
All right. We'll talk. Can we do a GoFundMe page for that?
I would totally do it. Let's do it. So for our first daughter, Layton, we struggled in ministry. I was a student pastor for 8 years. In ministry, we struggled for just a little over a year to get pregnant.
Okay.
Which I love being in ministry. Sometimes the worst time to be in ministry is when you're young newlyweds, because everybody in the church is like, when are you getting pregnant? When are you getting pregnant? When are you getting pregnant?
And real quick.
Don't ask that question.
If you are a parent of adult kids or you're a grandparent of adult kids that just got married, stop asking that question.
You're asking, we're not going to go down.
You're asking hey, how much do you guys have sex? Yeah. But stop asking that question because you don't know the battle. And let's say it's not a fertility issue or can't get pregnant. It's not always God's will for us to have kids. What if that is I have a cousin, they don't have any kids and that's their choice. Okay. That doesn't mean anything wrong or defected or anything like that. Quit asking the wrong questions.
That's good.
That's like when I had cancer, walking up hey, when are you going to get done with this cancer? oh, I'm sorry, I can't, move chemotherapy along for you, that my, moon face and bald head is, offending you. I'll try to move along this chemotherapy process,
Man.
Isn't that the same thing that we're saying?
It is.
Okay, keep going.
It is. So we have obviously we have a but God story in that. That was the hardest year of our life, because in that time we had staff members that got pregnant. We had people who didn't want to get pregnant. And I remember in the midst of it, being in ministry, I remember walking into a Sunday night. So we had middle school on Wednesday, high school on Sunday. And I remember walking in, we would do our kind of little team huddle and stuff. And my team knew something was off. Like, Len and I were just in a bad spot. And one of my leaders pulled me aside and said, what, like, you cannot do tonight. Like, something is wrong.
Yeah.
And I just broke. And I remember sitting with our team and just saying, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I am angry at God. I don't get why I've given all of, like, just the justification and the ridiculousness of it. And so fast forward, we get pregnant. What an amazing story that is.
Yeah.
Love our girl. We surprisingly get pregnant again, except we lose this one. And I remember thinking, trying to get pregnant and not getting pregnant was hard. That was nowhere near walking through losing a child.
I vividly remember that staff meeting time.
Dude, I lost it. I remember, like, crumbling in your arms. I remember it was hell for 2 or 3 weeks. I didn't know how to cope. I didn't know how to function. I didn't know what to do. And having walked through that situation, I still reverted back to the, being angry and, who the blankety blanker you, God, to, I don't want to walk through this again. But the crazy part about that is the but God moment wasn't when we got pregnant again. The but God moment was just because I'm in ministry, there were so many opportunities where it either just kind of fell out of my mouth, or people knew I was off and I had, it just happens.
It's kind of hard to mask it.
Yeah. And so, and I'm one of those, we've talked about it. I want transparency. I don't want to pretend like everything's okay. And so we found out just very quickly how many people, specifically in our church here at Calvary, have experienced the loss of a child.
Yeah.
And it was so comforting without anyone else saying anything else. Just to know that, because what Len and I did, we would come to work, we would go home, and we would cry all night because we felt like we're the only ones struggling with this.
Yep.
Until we'd walk in on a Sunday morning, and it would be like, it was almost like the Lord's still small voice saying, "Hey, I'm still here in the midst of this trial. This, you are not alone." Because what Satan wanted me to believe was the lie that we were alone.
Yeah,
we were the only ones struggling with this. We were the only ones walking through that. And we knew in our minds that 18 inches.
That.
18 inches.
Yeah, you know that, but you don't feel that.
Oh, no. I know that with my head.
Yeah.
I don't believe it in my heart.
Yeah, exactly.
And and here we are. I don't even know the time frame.
Yeah, and I think there was even like one Sunday morning you did fairly recent after the loss.
I hosted, and it came out of my mouth.
And it came out.
On accident, because I texted my wife and said, "I'm so sorry," because we hadn't told, but I think staff, and it just kind of was one of the Lord's, not shutting the lion's mouths, just kind of opening my, and just like, just like, whoa. And I was like, as soon as it came out, I went, I've made a terrible, at least for my family, I've made a terrible mistake. And that was one of the first Sundays where it was like, we had people come up to us and love, and where my wife was at and where I were at were two very different places.
Yeah.
My wife is way more private than I am, and I totally get that. And I just said, hey, I immediately went to her, interrupted her class, said, "I'm really sorry. I've made a terrible mistake." And it was so cool because we talked the rest of that afternoon about how many people came up to us. And that week, even the text messages that were, "Hey, our kids prayed tonight for you guys. We just want you to know how much we love and appreciate you." And I was like, now I'm crying tears of joy because it's like, I can't take that back. I can't fix it. I can't. We didn't know we were pregnant. Yeah. We had this, that wasn't the but God story. The but God story was just the fact that in our grief and in our sorrow, the community that rallied, that rallied around us. And here we are, and 30 days, exactly 1 month from today, give or take, we're going to have another little girl.
Uncle Nick.
I am not naming her Uncle Nick.
No, it is really that is how do we normalize that? Because that is just one couple with one issue that others can connect with and they know. But how many people, and hopefully listening even now, have issues that they feel like, I don't know if I can open up and be honest about that. Because here's the kicker. There's no sin issue right here whatsoever. Yeah. Like, it wasn't like you guys did something wrong and now this was God's punishment. Like, this was just one of those like hard things of life, you know. But how many people even have that like embarrassing private sin thing? And it's like, I can't be open and honest about that. And that's one thing that I think we hear continually, even from little announcements like you or Pastor Sean, you know, sermons that people hear, like just the openness, the realness. And it's like, because we've held ourselves up against the light of Christ. There's so many cracks that we've tried to fill with wax, and we're just allowing, like, all right, there's another one, Lord. Pull the wax out, fill it with your grace. There's one right there, Lord. You know, it doesn't matter how big, how small, like a hole in my coffee cup here is not going to hold liquid well. You know, it's not going to be a good vessel. And it's like, oh, here's where I'm doing it again, Lord. Take the wax out, make me pure, make me sincere, fill it with your grace. And I don't know, how do you normalize that outside of just everybody? You have to have a few bold, courageous people. It's such a hard thing.
Because like I feel like coming out of that is something that I'm still processing with the Lord. Like, I feel that maybe someplace down the road, because I've experienced that, there has to be some sort of ministry or something where me and my wife can help the church and people that have experienced that. And we're talking about one thing, which everyone, you know, it's so different. Stories are so different. But for me to be able to say, like, the normalization of the church is a hospital for the sick and the hurting. Why do we keep walking in pretending like we have it all together? Yeah.
And I love the line that talks about, again, who knows who said this?
Someone somewhere said
who's
something.
Way smarter than us. You know, the things that God delivers us from, he sends us right back to.
Oh, yes.
You know, like, I have no context to be able to look at somebody and say, okay, hey, you're addicted to drugs right now. Let me help you. The best I got is I took a substance abuse counseling class in my undergrad. Yippee. I crammed for that test, so I don't remember a whole lot, but I got an A in the class, right? Or I could read this book. But I could look at somebody who is going through something that I have been through. So I can look at a cancer patient, somebody that was just diagnosed, and say, I know what you're going through. Yeah. I know what that feels like. Yeah. And so hence me even saying earlier about my ignorance, I don't know what that's like, but you do.
I do.
You do. And that is a platform.
Unfortunately, I do.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I do.
And the same for me. Like, if somebody just diagnosed with cancer walked up to you, you couldn't say, oh, hey, I watched Grey's Anatomy and they have cancer patients. Let me tell you what you need to do. No.
Super insensitive and should not.
You know, now that doesn't mean that we can't be somewhat of a comfort, like, hey, I'm going to pray for you, I'm going to love you through this. But there is something about when you connect with somebody over that same thing and you finally feel like, I'm not alone. I really am. I know that, but now I'm believing, like, because we have more people being open and honest, more people that are willing to hold themselves up against the light, say, hey, there's the wax. Let's get some grace in there. Let's be real and honest with one another. And that's the community that we're called to be in. You know, that is so far more what the church was supposed to be about than, honestly, anything that we've maybe made it about instead of the whole country club mentality type thing. So,
and you talk about, one of the things that I appreciate you talk about is, and especially having walked through that, the ministry of presence. There's not any amount of theological conversation, Bible reading, not that those aren't important and they don't have a place. And I will just lovingly say this, the amount of ignorant, stupid things that were said to us by well-intentioned, Jesus-loving, Bible-believing people didn't help.
Yeah.
And that's not on them. We haven't, there's no class. We don't talk about, like, we tend to shy away from those hard things because we don't want to step on toes and we don't want to have a cry fest in the middle of service. But, you know, it was just one of those things that for us, the ministry of presence of someone just walking up to me and saying, hey, I see you.
Yeah.
And if you need something, I'm here.
Yeah.
to know that we had an army of people that would have come, made food for us, clean our house, take care of our daughter, send us on a date. Like, they literally at the drop of a hat, would have done anything and everything for us. And I just go, that's the church being the church.
Yeah. And that's because you hear people when they hear, let's take a secondary person that hears of someone that's going through something really, really hard. I just don't know what to say.
You don't have to say anything.
Yeah. Maybe that's a reason, because the best thing you can do is not speak. Well, I just don't know what to do. Maybe the best thing is just to sit there. You think of Job's friends rolled up and they just sat there, I think, for 7 days. They didn't say anything. They didn't do anything. They just sat next to a weeping man that lost his kids. He's covered in boils and he has a nagging wife.
Yep.
I mean, there's a reason to grieve right there. 3 reasons, right?
There's a sermon there somewhere.
There's something.
Boom, boom,
right
boom.
There. Yeah, God takes everything away except the nagging wife, Thank you, Lord. But it's like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Nothing. Just sit there.
In case in point, when this all happened, your wife did that. Your wife showed up at my doorstep, and I remember my wife hearing the knock at the door, and we were sitting in our bedroom, which was, we'd already lost the baby.
Yeah.
Our house was a mess. We didn't know how to function. For us, the world stopped.
And we totally judged you for the dirty house.
I'm sure you did.
Oh, my goodness.
My wife sat and
care.
cried
Yeah.
when your wife, like, when I opened the door and she hugged me and said, "Where's London?" And I said, "She's in the bedroom. She doesn't want you to go in there. She's a mess. The house is a mess." And she looked right at me and said something to the effect of, "That's the dumbest thing." Like, and she walked in my bedroom, and I'll never forget. London was sitting on her side of the bed, and she went and sat down next to her, stepped over dirt. I was a mess. Stepped over dirty clothes and just sat with her and let my wife cry. And it's like, that in that moment, that was the most Christ-like thing anyone could have done. Because as a man, there were just things. My wife needed a woman in her life. Like, there wasn't anything I could do but hold her, but she needed somebody else. And I left. I went and picked my daughter up and just gave them that time. And it was such, like, my wife still talks about that moment, how much she cherishes and how much the Lord spoke to her in her heart, in that situation. And her and Ashley talked for an hour and a half, but she said, I don't know even what Ashley said. It was just the fact that she was willing to be here. And nobody asked. I mean, she just was like, got in the car, showed up, and was like, I'm not leaving. Like, I'm not leaving until I get to see your wife. And it was like, that's, in those moments where, the Lord speaks through somebody else by their actions and not even, their words.
And sometimes we don't even know what we need, like
that's a whole nother.
That's where we need the body, because it's like, hey, we can look at ourselves and we know the right things we're supposed to do, diet, exercise, going back to the whole physical health and examination, whatever. There's sometimes I don't even know what I need.
Yeah.
And it's somebody else with that expertise or with that understanding to walk in and say, here, let me just sit with you. Let me lead. Let me guide a little bit.
So good.
Instead of
so good.
Yeah. So I don't know how we got on that topic.
I don't either. That was not.
That wasn't
it's
planned.
Good.
That wasn't planned.
No, that was not planned at all.
The Holy Spirit's over here, just like, you two are cute. You thought you guys had a plan.
You shut up. Stop talking about. You take care of it. So, that's what I love. That's what I love. It's Nick has no idea what we're gonna sit down and talk about. We don't have notes before, and we've said that
rabbit
before.
Holes that we're gonna go down.
That's the fun part of not coming into the podcast with a flippant attitude of like, oh, we gotta do this. Let's just shotgun something out. Like having notes, which apparently I didn't have enough notes. I should have copied and pasted, but having that, and then just leaving room for the Spirit to move. Be like, hey, that's cute. You want to talk about that? Here's what we're really gonna talk about, because the Lord knows who's listening.
Yeah.
And maybe today there's someone who's listening that hits home, or that really they understand that because they're walking through it.
So on both sides, like, examine yourself and look at your life, look at your heart, and where in my arrogance am I saying I'm not sick and I don't need help? And then on the other side of the spectrum, where are we so broken that we're trying to recluse ourselves away from the body?
Don't do that.
Don't do that either.
Don't do that.
And that's the hard thing, just walking in with just a real, honest, open, dependent, like, I need the Lord here.
Yeah.
Like, this is my, and the hard thing too, allow somebody to sit with you. Allow somebody to be the ministry of presence. And it's going to take a massive dose of humility, but allow that. Because, again, Jesus wants to work in and through us, not around us. You know, we are his vessels. And so it isn't about, is Ashley going to sit here next to you through it, or is that person or your life group leader or whatever. No. Like, will you allow Christ to be present in your life? And he's gonna use people. The same way we do it in anything else. We talk about that until we're in the hot seat and we're the ones that need people in our lives. So, like, don't recluse, don't be arrogant. Just bring an honest, open heart before the Lord, and just allow him to do what he wants to do. And don't be surprised at who he's going to bring around you, because it's going to be exactly who you need.
That's good. That seems like a good
welcome to the breakdown.
Seems like a good pause or comma to put in today's episode. We'll call that a day. Hey, thanks so much for listening or watching to the breakdown. We want to hear from you. Make sure and check out our social channels. Basically everything, every social media outlet we have is just Calvary Chapel, LOTO. Feel free to share the podcast with your friends and family members. Not for us to gain popularity, but it does help when you search the breakdown and there's 12,000 other breakdowns and they start ranking them by like who has the most listens and views. But you can find the podcast version on your favorite podcasting platform, or you can find it on our YouTube channel, Calvary Chapel, LOTO. But we'll hang up the mics. We'll turn the lights and cameras and sound equipment off for today and wrap up. What is episode 6? This is our 6th episode.
Look at us go.
Going strong. So for 6 weeks. So we'll wrap it up today. We'll be back. Oh, we got to talk about next week.
Yeah, we got to talk about next week.
We've got conference in Florida.
Oh, we should do it there.
I know, I thought about it. We'll figure it out. We may do it next week, but we'll see you the next time. Have a great day, week, whenever, wherever you're watching this. We'll see you guys later.